Back for some more comment fun, I guess. That's the way it's going to be. The Piro has made a video, I guess provoked, by some idiot, in the gallery. And useless drivel, where the observer is now allowed to break the laws of physics. So the thought experiments of these general relativity things, I would suppose that a rule would be that neither observer, one on the spaceship or one outside the spaceship, is allowed to see the rules of physics violated. And that's so you have to have a solution or an answer to the question that doesn't allow either one to see the rules overtly violated. And the idea that light travels forward. Okay, first off, the outside observer is going to say, why did it do that? Well, what do you mean? You shot it this way. Light doesn't just go forward. It left this way. It doesn't just do this. And it's a longer line, longer distance. It traveled to the future. Future is further away. And it had to do that faster than the speed of light. He saw the light going faster than the speed of light. And Piro, king of the idiocracy type, let's go chase pie clouds in the sky. It's not even regular pie, just pie clouds. Idiot. So anyway, he makes a video. I only watched a minute of it so far. Instead of ever getting to the subject or being direct or scientific, it's always some game to play. And so he's talking to the future and explaining why he has to explain this stuff. And if I was to talk to the future, I would say, just remember, to observe Piss on a Piro Day. Piss on an asshole. An asshole trying to drive you back to idiocracy. Because, you don't want to go there. You don't want to listen to these assholes with their pie in the sky and their gods and their voodoo and their mojo mumbo jumbos. Piss on one. They're obnoxious to the truth, and they are dangerous. And they will kill you in horrible ways, because they're stupid as fuck. So go remember to go piss on an asshole on Piss on a Piro Day. That's what the future's going to be doing to this. They're going to be pulling their dicks out and pissing on your fucking face. Asshole. I'm not going to be listening to jackasses like you. I guess I should include something for women, so I'll just say it's your period. See, it's already called a period. See, it's already been blamed on the proper thing, the Piro. And we probably should call them periods. Hemorrhoids are probably periods. Probably better. Anything idiotic, stupid, and annoying. Piro. So he says, momentum is a vector in one direction. Yeah, that was established by the word hypotenuse, I said like 3 times in the video. Yeah, that's right. You have direction in the x component, direction in the y component, and this is your actual vector, and it's a longer line than either of the other 2 lines. Asshole. 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 Anyway, alright, so back to this John Reynolds jackass. So I left off, I was explaining how, he says, what about the energy? With particle gravity. Now I've already explained kinetic. It's written on my Draft Science website. It's in my videos. So apparently he will critique, and he hasn't even bothered to really see what I'm saying by going to the website and seeing right in the beginning I start talking about kinetic. And there's no loss. It's lossless. There's no heat. There's no little bits flying off. There's no energy problem. Head-on kinetic collision. Like nothing happened at all. Just like they missed. I point out these things. So again, this is the character of these people. They'll do all this critiquing in this obnoxious, arrogant way. And they haven't read it. They haven't cared to understand. I provided the link. The book isn't 500 pages long. I mean, the website isn't that much. And So what's the excuse except they're assholes? Piros. Anyway, so I was just pointing out how energy's a kind of a misnomer concept. You can't create or destroy energy. It just moves through different things. So I was pointing out how you can have a stream, put a turbine on it, turn the movement into the spinning turbine, then turn that spin into magnetism moving, and then the magnetism moving is essentially electricity going through the wire, and then spin a turbine, and then spin the water again. And so you haven't done anything. I mean, all you've done is convert the same an amount of movement and converted it, and in the process you've lost some of that movement to movement in the atmosphere through heat and movement and other things. But that's it. It's all just movement. And what makes energy noticeable is when we have imbalances in movement. One thing is moving and the other thing isn't moving. That kind of thing. Or they're moving in opposite directions. But that's it. You can't create or destroy energy. Just like matter. You can't get rid of it. You can get rid of it in the sense that if there's a big empty place, you can send it there, but it's still over there. It didn't just disappear. It doesn't get annihilated. Alright, anyway. Alright, let's see. Perfectly elastic, bounce off. Alright, so I did that. So this leads to the problem, like, where does the energy go? So that's my answer to that. The energy doesn't go anywhere. There's nothing in what I have described that creates any energy I don't account for. All of the energy is accounted for. I know you hate math. I don't hate math. I just hate fools who sit there and say math is the Pope. Math is a rational description of how the thing functions. No, it isn't. Math is just ratios and numbers. It's taking one tiny aspect of what the thing does and creating a formula so you understand if you put this much in, you get this much out. But that doesn't explain how this happened in between. I know you hate math, but mathematically that energy has to go somewhere. So again, he's assuming the existence of an energy I said doesn't exist because it's kinetic. So there is no leftover energy. Every interaction is 100% complete and done. No leftover bits. And mathematicians in the 19th century concluded, okay, so again, you're just citing a vague reference to something you don't even I don't think you have any such evidence that any such conclusion was reached by anything called a mathematician. But anyway, that the heat caused by this excess energy means planets could never form. And again, I've already explained to you why their presumptions were wrong. Photons aren't school buses. They don't break into pieces when they hit something. So if you're assuming a photon or an ultramundane particle, alright, is a school bus and the windows are going to fly out and the fender's going to fly over there and the headlight's going to go over there, if that's what you're assuming, well, you're stupid as fuck, aren't you? Because that wasn't in the theory anywhere. Just like thinking they're ultramundane particles are raindrops. No, they're not. They're ultramundane particles which have their own description. As I've stated, they're photons. They just don't have a frequency. But in every other respect, it's a photon. No frequency, but it's a photon. Get it? Not too complicated, idiot. Anyway, it would be too hot. So again, I have already been over the thermodynamic problem. I've cited it in the videos. I said I've solved the thermodynamic problem. There is no thermodynamic problem because guess what? Every form of matter isn't the same matter. They're different. They have different functions. Material things can collect velocity. What do you think's happening when something has velocity? Do you think it's exactly the same? Every aspect of it is exactly the same when it's moving and when it's not moving. Or is it more feasible that there's some force that's been captured that's actually moving the electrons and the protons and the neutrons inside of the material thing to keep it moving? That those things don't have something called momentum on their own, that there has to be a force that's been captured. And maybe the force that's captured might have something to do with the giant flame that came out of the other fucking end and went that way. And the equal but opposite reaction is there's energy going this way inside of the matter now. More energy going this way. An imbalance. You can't understand that, huh? Dim fuck. Anyway. It would be too hot. That's one of those mathematical facts. So he says it's a fact. His assumptions about what an ultramundane particle is, his assumption that he doesn't know what the word kinetic means, obviously, interaction. So your assumptions are facts. No, your assumptions are shit. And nobody, I have not argued for any assumption that says, yes, the ultramundane particles are like school buses and they scatter parts all over the place. Where did I argue that, jackass? Oh, that's right, I didn't. I argued exactly the opposite. So lie about my theory, lie about my premises, lie about what I fucking said, jackass. And then debunk a straw man argument, a complete fake argument that I haven't made, asshole. So again, because 200 years ago, 300 years ago, let's say even, they didn't have any imagination. You know, they couldn't come up with kinetic in their head. Even though they saw, like, cannonballs, you could bounce them off each other and no pieces of cannonball flew off. So they could get some idea of kinetic. They didn't have the imagination to imagine that maybe that's how the underlying physics works. Cannonballs all the way down. Indestructible. Alright. Let's see. That's one of those mathematical facts you pretend don't exist, so that's a lie. I haven't pretended they haven't existed. I've explained them, and I've done it in detail, and I've done it over and over and over again. So that's a fucking lie. Also, there's always a friction problem. Well, again, in kinetics, there's no friction problem, and I'm sure somebody can understand that most friction goes away in empty space somehow. So where is there always a friction problem? There's not always a friction problem in space, is there? In the purest, emptiest space you could find, is there always a friction problem? There's so little friction in space that we sent a probe to Pluto that was going damn fast. And it didn't get ruined. It didn't hit a single bit of friction. Asshole. Because of the equivalent of density. That's not a real thing. Sorry, no way. Piro must have invented that phrase. There's no equivalent of density. And inertial mass. So again, where's the friction in empty space? If I shoot a gun in space, are you saying the bullet won't get to Alpha Centauri eventually? I mean, it seems pretty probable it will. By the way, yes, Gary, the best space is in the math. So again, the best space is in the math. No, it isn't. It's nowhere in the math. That's just a canard. The only thing in the math is the fact that the sun has a center of gravity, and Newton combined the two M's. And you really can't, because when the thing's making gravity, its mass matters. When it's being affected by gravity, its mass doesn't matter. And that's the catch here. You know, the component that was missing in Newton's math, if you could say something was missing, is the recognition that the force, you create the force and you're affected by the force. The Earth is creating gravity at the same time it's being affected by gravity. And the two things are different and they move your center of gravity. Anyway, let's see. Space-time is treated as a topological space. Well, again, it can't be in 3 dimensions, so that's bullshit. And mass induces a warp on that space in Einstein's GR theory. Again, all he does is create perpetual wells, and there's no evidence you can do that in reality, in order to calculate stuff like time dilation. And again, he's just using time dilation because of the association between acceleration and velocity. because Einstein basically is saying all velocities are the same. You can't tell one velocity caused by acceleration from another velocity caused by rockets from one caused by blah blah blah. They're all kind of the same frame. And in the same condition. Elevator, rocket ship, gravity, same acceleration. But obviously it does make a difference what force is creating your velocity, because they will create it in a different way. And some of them create it every instant of a Planck bit of time. So that's the other problem with gravity. Gravity is changing. You know, we say, well, it's 10 meters per second per second. Well, it's not. It's 10 meters per zillionth of a second. Not 10 meters. It's some amount of distance per micromillimeter zillionth of a second thing. The universe doesn't do this per second crap. And it certainly isn't applying your gravity per second. Anyway, let's see, where were we? Planets could never form, oh, I already did that part. Induces warp in space, GR theory. In order to calculate stuff like time dilation, comma, Einstein used what are called tensors. Yeah, exactly. What do you think a tensor, by even the description of it, tensor, what does that mean? Oh, that means the force connecting the two things, which translate the temporal spiral coordinates. Yeah, which means the tension is what gets regulated when stuff vibrates or when stuff changes. Yeah. You know, you change the tension. So when the sun is moved by the earth this way, that changes the tension between Mars, Venus, Saturn, every other planet, and that's now changes that relationship. So everything gets changed by every single piece of influence in a Planck constant of time. Let's see, temporal spiral coordinates of one point to another point on the topological space. So again, there's nothing in the math. Again, show me the piece in the math. The math only deals with the mass, and it deals with the constants of the force and the locations. Show me in the math the bent space factoring. This is mathematical. It is used very advanced calculus. And again, you can't change the fact that the variables put into the formula are not bent space. The only thing put into the formula is the inverse square rule. That's the bend, idiot. It's bending by the inverse square rule. Except it's doing it in a manner like that the inverse square law can't do, in the sense that it's making an infinitely deep well. And that's another one of those pesky facts. Yeah, that's a pesky fact you're not dealing with. That because on a piece of paper you can theoretically draw infinite wells doesn't mean that you can do it in the real universe. You ignore, I suppose. Well, again, I don't ignore it. I just don't lie about it. I don't sit there and say things about it that aren't true like you do. Like there is some kind of bent space factor when, no, the bent space factor is the factor we already know about, which is the inverse square law. Liar. Ignorant fuck. Slandering jerk. So, grow some integrity, John. And maybe, you should work on your penis too. Anyway. The wind, asshole. Farting by 4 o'clock. Stinky wind. Producer. The two beams aren't the same, and one is supposed to diverge to 5 times as much. So, I mean, do I really have to draw a picture? This is, I guess, we're back to the Michelson-Morley. Alright. It's about the distance and when something gets diverged. When it gets Newton's rings. That's what this is about. This is about the fact that the beam splitter is a diffraction gradient in principle, and it makes the beams diverge, spread. Now, the one beam goes through the mirror, the first mirror. It doesn't reflect, it goes straight through. The other one reflects off the mirror. Okay? So the one that does that first, the one that goes through first, gets diverged first. And then it travels through 18 mirrors. So it's diverging and now traveling through 18 mirrors. The other beam that reflected, that beam goes through 18 mirrors small, not diverged. No Newton's rings yet. It doesn't get Newton's rings until the very last mirror it goes through. Half-silvered mirror. Then it gets diverged. So it gets diverged in the last mile of an 18-mile long trip. The other guy started diverging right from the first mile. Right after the first mile, he's diverging. He's spreading. The other guy doesn't do it till 18 miles later. That's the problem. Your comment's not relevant to the actual thing described. Again. Over what distance? You haven't even said that. The distance of the experiment. If you have 18 mirrors, then it's 18 mirrors worth. If you have 500 mirrors, it's 500 mirrors worth. It doesn't matter. Each distance is essentially twice as much distance as the guy who goes through last experiences. So you might as well just say 18 times or 25 times or 500 times. Like someone else has said, how the fuck two one-way mirrors work? Like someone else has said, how the fuck two one-way mirrors work? So not written properly. Like someone else has said. I'm just saying it's the law, your own laws of physics. You can't just pretend diffraction gradients aren't real things. And that's what a half-silver mirror is a bunch of matter in places with little tiny gaps between it. It's a bunch of tiny single slit experiments. And it's going to make the light diverge. If you were clever, you wouldn't have said that the other beam is 5 times as large. I'm talking about its spread. It's spreading more than the other one has because it's gone, say, 5 times more distance spreading. What's so fucking complicated, douche? Because that makes it that much more impossible to believe that you are actually the first person in history of mankind to discover such a non-fact. So again, you can mock the fact that I've brought it up. You can mock the fact that I observed it on the guy who makes the MIT laser videos, and he puts the card in front of it, and I saw it. Okay, first I thought of it. I said, well, let me go watch the video and see if I can detect it. And there you can. You can actually detect when he puts the card in front of the two beams. You can see that one beam is big and the other beam is little before they're getting combined. And you're saying, well, how can you combine a beam this big and a beam this big and then say you're doing something honest with that mirror and with that lens? How can a lens take this beam and turn them both into the same size? You can't do that. Mirrors are powerful. I mean, lenses. You can't do that. Alright, you have already been demonstrated to know nothing about the double slit experiment. No, I demonstrated by what? I've played the videos, I've shown what the results look like, I've shown that the math doesn't have the two frequencies, so to speak, in it. All the math on YouTube. All of it. So fuck you. The math has been pointed out to you. No, it hasn't. There's a page with a bunch of math on it. Okay, now, I'm saying that that guy who is strangling the math to come up with a formula, and you're saying that's the accurate math. I'm saying, well, first off, that math isn't taught at MIT. So you're saying the real math isn't taught at MIT, Stanford, Yale, or Khan Academy. No, the real math is on that forum page. I think that's a kind of a one of those things that, it seems like an extraordinary claim that needs extraordinary evidence. So why don't you proof the math? Why don't you put actual numbers in that math and see if you can get it to work? I can't even do that because his end product, he's already labeled things I don't even know what the fuck, there's deltas in there, and you're saying, what's the delta for? How do I replace a delta with a variable? What's a delta? Yeah. And with regard to, so now he's going to get a dark matter, good. That ought to be really funny. Alright, so that's just a lie. There's no math has been pointed out to me, except the fact that I've acknowledged, okay, it's math. I'm saying I would have to take me at least 3 weeks of work to sit there and be able to follow his math, because it has all these assumptions in it. He just stops, says, well, I'm making 4 and delta equal to 1. And I have to figure out why he's doing that. I mean, when you make something obliged to equal 1, I have to wonder why you just did that. Is that a trick? Is that like the hole in the table in 3-card Monte or something? Or the shell thing. And with regard to dark matter, it is amazing. Okay? Something's amazing about this completely made up, contrived solution to the fact that your physics doesn't work. And that's all dark matter is. Your physics doesn't, you can't explain galaxies properly because you don't understand how they work. So it has a flaw in your physics. And lensing doesn't make any sense at all without dark matter. So you invent this fake matter that's moving stuff and creating fake gravity because you need it, because your physics doesn't work. Because even if your entire theory is true, well, there we go, you would still have to account for it. No, I wouldn't, because my theory doesn't think solar systems are the same as galaxies. Galaxies are losing matter, solar systems collect matter. Two different kind of functions. This is a matter of what's already been observed, for God's sakes. So you've observed the fact that, say, a sun in a galaxy, you think it's being pulled towards the center with more gravity strength than it's being pulled towards the arm of the galaxy. That's your theory? Because that's their stupid assumption. Well, just blame it on the electric field. So that's a quote of me, and he says, I don't like these mechanics. I only accept taunts. So he's got that in quotes. Obviously, I never said that. So he's just lying some more. So, I mean, it's really rude to put things in quotes as if somebody said them. I mean, it's just fucking rude. I mean, only scum do that, and only people who should be pissed on do that. I mean, that's a pissable offense. Fuck you. Get what you deserve. A lifetime of piss on your fucking useless grave. You scum. Alright. Bronatuna. I don't know. These people who are poets, I don't have much use for. Physics, catastrophe, economy, dilettanti. You are only good in philosophy and psychology, which is pretty worthless. Modern, quote. Astrophysics, cosmology are on the pre-Galilean kind of science level. Again, they're the ones saying Galileo invented relativity. So, fuck you. Let's see. Who cares about photons with an F? Black shithole, dark matter, bunch of quantum, shitology, and other great stuff, except a lot of charlatans. No, it's just useless drivel. So, I don't know, I guess you thought this was some sort of artful comment that said something I'm supposed to understand, but nope. Just sounds like some kind of babbling, retarded bullshit. So, stop doing that. I have no use for it. You're not going to last too long if that's what you type as a comment. And then Piro responds to it, which is bizarre. No, he's not good at those things either. Yeah, I saw it in the clouds. The clouds told me, Gary bad, Gary bad. I saw it written in the clouds. It's an illusion because we see he should be good at them. What's that? Emotional egotism, stated by this reckless, egomaniacal, insane, asshole, sadistic fuck. This stupid fuck who thinks his feelings are more important than my feelings and more important than anyone else's feelings. Because he wants something, he's allowed to take it. And he's allowed to run over kids to get it. Yeah, fuck that asshole. Is the culprit, I think. Yes, so you're the problem with you're the guy with the ego problem. And the funny part is you're going to ironically get what your ego problem deserves, which is pissed on for eternity. Because the future will respect my wishes. It'll say, yeah, we owe Gary that. Yeah, let's all go piss on Pierrot's grave. Just to make sure this is seen, his point about MMX is ludicrous. Okay, so this is the wind asshole, the farter. He says that one of the beams is 5 times larger without specifying over what distance. The distance of the experiment. That I said the beam that goes through the beam splitter first. Both beams go through the splitter, technically hit the splitter twice. One time they reflect, one time they go through. Both beams do that. The point is one of them goes through first and then goes through the whole experiment after it was split, diffracted, and the other beam gets diffracted at the last mile. I made that clear. There's no way one-way mirrors would work in Gary's world. Well, my point is they don't work the way it's assumed by assholes, just as I explained how polarization doesn't work how assholes think. Okay, so assholes who don't think about stuff don't find out that their assumptions are incorrect. Like you were assuming ultramundane particles are school buses and all kinds of fenders fly off. But that's not what they do, because it's a thing called kinetic in the universe. You know, lossless. There's lossless interactions. Idiot. But even if his point is true, again, he's conceding the point and then trying to argue that somehow it's still wrong, which it isn't. It would still fail. Okay, let's see, why would it fail? Because one beam spends time traveling more than the other, and whatever fucktarded process creates fringes in Gary's world would be expected to be replicated in the MMX. It is. Your results are shit. I'm just saying the experiment can't do anything but turn on-off patterns on and off, because the phases are broken. As soon as you diverge the beam, you can't understand that the stuff, the plane wave has now been bent in a sense. You know, the distance here is longer, so this light can't get to here at the same time. And phase is a timed equation. So of course the phases aren't going to be in the right places anymore. So whatever you find is irrelevant because you've broken the phase of the light. Oh, fucking dumbasses. Alright, Hofladay. Ooh. Probably won't understand this. He does these poetic statements too. They're just useless. 2 beams diverge in a wood. The real one takes the road that has seen least action. LOL. So I guess this is some whatever his name is, Robert Frost kind of poem or something. The thought made me smile. I thought I'd share. 2 beams diverge in the woods. The real one takes the road that has seen least action. It takes the one that's less traveled, and that has made all the diffraction? Question mark. I don't know what that means. Chicken shit says, one planet says to the other, if gravity was an intrinsic value of space, our masses would be falling through it. LOL. Not true either. Let's see. Pierrot says, I took the high road. Huh. Laughable. that, of course. Which leads us to, and Mindy be in Stockholm Aphoria. That's really not even interesting. But I certainly will be before you. Yes. You, and, well, Angela, Faith, does not write rational comments either. You go to walk the walk. Oh, you got to. Written wrong. Walking the lions will only get you so far. Cash. I wish you wouldn't do this. And there's a link to some kind of Facebook page. We're not doing Facebook here. Alright, well I think I'll just get rid of this whole pointless thread. Yep. Alright. So more wind shit. So it just keeps typing nonsense. I'm sure that when I stand upside down on my head, that's creating a new universe. Makes perfect sense. Want another dimension? Just jump into the future. I don't know. How's this relevant? You're the ones who have theories that create universes every time a photon goes through a slit. You're going to make shit up just to patch the MMX that you don't understand. So there's nothing to patch. I've said from the very beginning, it's an experiment with a ton of parts. And I don't think any of you people knew what these parts did. And then when I went through the parts, I found a defect you didn't pay any attention to at all. That your beam splitter assumptions about what a beam splitter does are incorrect. It doesn't create two equal beams going in opposite directions. It creates two very different beams going in opposite directions. What fucking defective beam splitter could you possibly be talking about? The one that's a diffraction gradient that causes the light to diverge, that makes Newton's rings. That's where the Newton's rings comes from. When the two beams are combined, they've been Newtoned. What are the one-way mirrors? I've already told you what they are. Half-silvered mirrors that are basically a diffraction gradient. Look up diffraction gradient. You haven't debunked anything. I've pointed out that the assumptions founding the conclusions of the experiment are incorrect. You literally don't understand any of this shit. You're literally a slandering asshole to say that, because obviously you're the one who doesn't understand diffraction and its causes. And it isn't complicated. Exactly. It isn't complicated, and it should have been pointed out by somebody else long before I pointed it out. That we shouldn't assume beam splitters create two equal beams. You're just that fucking stupid. No, you're just that fucking of a religious kook who just accepts everything the Feynmans and the rest of them say. They say something, you believe it. They, say dark matter exists, you sit there and make rationalizations and excuses for the existence of just something that's completely God of the gaps, made up crap. It's fucking Tinkerbell. It isn't. There's not one shred of evidence. Tinkerbell has more. If you were to make an argument that Tinkerbell really exists or was based on a real fairy, you'd have more luck than finding a single shred of evidence indicating that there's any such thing as dark matter, except the argument that it fixes our broken fucking physics. Maybe if you don't have your head so far up your disgusting asshole, I'm rubber, you're glue, you might have seen how muffins inside trains related to shooting photons at the speed of light. You might have seen how muffins inside of trains related to shooting photons at the speed of light. They don't relate, that's the whole point. Muffins can go almost any speed, except the speed of light. The speed of light can only go one speed, the speed of light. You can't, it's a big difference between the two, you stupid idiot. You arrogant, disgusting, insipid fuck. No, you're the one who's disgusting. The future will take care of, do the right thing, and make sure you're soaked in piss for a very, very long time. Maybe you could see where there are forces. Maybe you could see where there are forces. I'm the one saying there are forces. You're the idiot saying there's fields. First, why don't you figure out the difference between what you're even saying? And when you say fields exist, you're basically saying forces don't. But you don't want that, of course. Every fucking argument you put out literally relies on making some fucktarded twisting of words. So again, I'm twisting words by saying we should call particles particles and we shouldn't call empty spaces particles. And I'm the one twisting words when I say we shouldn't call an antiparticle, or we shouldn't call something annihilation when it's not annihilated. And we shouldn't use the word frames when we don't mean it's different there. Frames, there must be some forces around. God damn, you are so fucking stupid. Whatever. Your useless asshole opinion. You're a shit-talking, rag-talking, unreasonable liar and fraud and fake and phony. Just fuck off, you creepy, puke-inducing ass cunt. Rubber glue. You're a failure on so many levels. Yes, except I am incredibly right about so many things. And again, like I said, the future will respect that and appreciate it, and it will do the appropriate thing and drown you in piss. It will please me in hindsight. I'm pleased now imagining the future doing the right thing, which is recognizing that life sucks, and it mostly sucks because of shit like that. That's why we're living in idiocracy, is because idiots have mouths they don't put up. They just keep talking bullshit. They're just like fucking retarded parrots, and they're ballless, dickless wonders. Have no personal integrity. Put nothing on the line. Just throw fucking shit from behind little shit piles. Little pussies putting rocks in their snowballs. Fuckers. Robert Diggins. Please create a Patreon account. No. I've explained this before, but why do you people need some third-party asshole to take a cut for you to do anything in the world? Why do you need that? I mean, if you give a shit, you can just donate the money. You don't have to wait for somebody to call you to ask for the money and then pay the caller. You know, you don't have to pay unnecessarily. You don't have your money, do it in a kinetic way. Make it count. I mean, if you've been to the website, there's a donate button. Well, it might not be on the physics channel, but it's on the Do Not God channel. Maybe I should put a donate button on the physics one. I don't remember. Let's go look. See if I have a donate button on it. Yeah, I have a donate button right on the physics website. It says right there at the top, donate. Now, if you hit that button, you get to give me 5% more money than if I have a Patreon account. If I have a Patreon account, Patreon takes 5% of the money. Why would you pay them for nothing? For no need to pay them. You have absolutely no reason to pay them to do nothing useful. Anyway. Or give us a way to donate money to support your continued efforts. So again, you're so impressed and find it so fascinating, and you didn't go to the website, you didn't see the donate button. Okay, well, whatever. We need critical thinking and more ideas such as yours. I have a feeling you would get some donations. Blah, blah, blah. As there are many of us who are tired of being fed mainstream cosmology and don't want flaky BS. Also, I implore you to take another look at the recent Thunderbolts Project videos. I'm sorry. They're talking like fanatics. Okay, again, they've used really crappy truther-style arguments against Einstein's math. And that's all they are. They're semantic arguments. They're so lame. I mean, if you're going to attack Einstein, attack the physics. And they can't attack the physics because their own physics, it doesn't have any integrity. It doesn't have any depth. Tesla was an idiot. They aren't talking about Tesla or being flaky. Yes, they are. They did make correct predictions about what happened when we shot a sensor projectile at Comet 67P. Oh, I'm not even going to bother looking that up. I'm sure they didn't predict anything earth-shatteringly interesting, while the mainstream scratch their heads publicly. Well, whatever. They are doing experiments with plasma physics. And again, plasma physics, it shouldn't have its own category. It's just electricity without a breakdown voltage, okay, without a medium for the transfer. So the plasma has to be created by the electrodes. The actual thing shooting the electricity, the ions have to be created at the source and at the receiver. And that's why, that's sort of why plasmas stick to surfaces. But anyway. They are real multidisciplinary scientists. Well, it says you. I'm not impressed with their arguments. Their arguments suck, and here they are focused on the least real of all the forces, which is electricity. Because electricity is really just magnetism. Magnetism is what makes electrons move. I'm just sorry, but it's just the way it is. Electricity is just a word for describing what happens when magnetism makes an electron move. But magnetism is what holds the electron to the proton. It's the nuclear force, is magnetism. And magnetism makes electrons move. That's what it does in the world. And electricity is just describing the fact that electrons moved. See how to say this. See, gravity isn't planets moving. You wouldn't say, gravity's planets moving. Gravity's the force that makes the planets move, you see? Question, what do you think of, I don't know, Birkeland currents? I don't know what the fuck that is. Can they be, oh, no. If there's some scalar waves bullshit, there's no Birkeland currents, you might as well say, Ken Wheeler hyperboloids. What do I think of Ken Wheeler hyperboloids? I think there's a big pile of steaming made up shit. Doesn't have a fucking thing to do with reality. Can there be a way for electricity to cross vast distances? So again, this isn't Tesla retarded nonsense, and you're going to bring up silly Tesla retarded nonsense. Too stupid. As I have explained, you gain nothing by moving electrons. Electrons don't move for free. So to move an electron, you have to keep hitting it with force to keep it moving. It doesn't do the acquire momentum thing. So you'll never be able to... it's not a useful mechanism for releasing stored energy. If you look at the images of stars being born, says you, in Z pinch areas, well, I'm not going to do that. That sounds dirty. They look like pearls on a string. Whatever. I mean, really, you think there's big giant lightning bolts shooting between the stars? Fuck. If most of the universe is plasma, no, there is a medium for Birkeland currents. So again, there's just no point. We already know that space is very hostile to the transmission of electricity. Very hostile. You have to give it a pathway of ions or electrons. I mean, the only way to make a pathway of electrons is to make a pathway of ions first. You have to pluck the electrons from something. Anyway, there are many observations of cosmological structures which are being recreated in plasma experiments. Whatever. Cosmological structures. There aren't all that many cosmological structures. and most of them have been artificially enhanced to be viewably interesting to us. And so if you find something that looks like it, it probably doesn't really look like it because the photographs you're looking at have been artificially strangled to suit human perception. The Thunderbolts folks are trying to show that many planetary surfaces, craters, and scarring can be recreated in plasma experiments. So again, he thinks that asteroids didn't hit the moon. It got hit by a bunch of lightning bolts. While mainstream cosmology scratches their heads about causes. Well, whatever. I don't think they are scratching their heads all that hard. And I certainly don't think you have any evidence to support this. Mumbo J. Dumbo. You know, I just found the donate link on your site. Oh, yeah, good for you. Please consider adding that link to your video descriptions. Thanks. No, I don't think I need to yet. The future may require it, as poverty does suck. We already gave enough money to this bum when we pay taxes. So again, I pay into Social Security, he resents. Alright, too bad. On second thought, I ought only speak for myself. And we have no evidence that you have anything called a job, that you didn't just inherit the money because you talk like an asshole who never earned it. You sound just like one to me, and a pedophile, but you know. Yes, an inheritance whore pedophile. It's pretty much how you talk, just the way they would talk. If I imagine an inheritance whore pedophile, they talk just like you. Speaking for myself personally, I don't hang out and comment at people's YouTube channels if I didn't find them interesting or get anything useful. Is trolling really that fun? If so, how do you find the time to earn money and pay taxes? If you find satisfaction in searching YouTube, well, yeah, and he has all the sock accounts that he has to downrate the video with too, so he's spending a lot of time playing this whatever little jerky game he has. You know, wanky, wanky, squirt, squirt. YouTube for people you can insult. You might want to see a shrink, or might be 12 and in the need of parental controls. Yes, needs a good fucking cow prod up his ass. Some thunderbolt physics. What the hell are you doing here if you're not interested in the content? Yeah, you're not really doing the cause much good, in my opinion. So yes, you're kind of like one of those. It's almost good to have you around because your commentary is so vacuous. Hello? I have said hello. Hello?
Hello, this is Deidre calling on behalf of Trenton's Bad Bet.
Oh, I'm sure you are. Yes, I'm sure you are. Yes, I'm sure you're lying. I'm sure you are. This is Deirdre. I'm calling on behalf of Trenton's horrible death. Liar, liar, liar. They can't even get this automated crap to even work right. These people should be droned to dead. They should just get the drones for this purpose. We should perfect drones using these assholes as drone fodder. Go find this bitch and drone her. I mean, look, when they're reading this shit in their little studio, it should have occurred to Deirdre, who lied about her own name, hey, I'm just reading a big lie script. I'm basically being a Nazi spy or something. I mean, they know what they're doing. Fuck them. They don't know what civilization is. And you can't live in one if you don't know what one is. That should be the rule. Can't live in civilization if you don't know that civilization means you can't be a steaming, flabby, herpes-covered, AIDS bitch, cunt, fucking piece of shit. You're not allowed to be that, Deirdre. God damn these people. But that's the John Wayne attitude. What's in it for me? I got paid $10. I don't mind selling my anus to the man. Yeah. Anyway, what the hell are you doing here? Let's see. Is the man hurting you? Did he back into your tablet and force you to watch his videos? Yeah, exactly. Jeebus. He's investing time and effort to explain his ideas on his channel. That's correct. If you don't like the content, watch something else or create some of your own. Well, yeah, I don't even mind the commentary, but if the commentary is about my personal life, making accusations, like I said, I don't have any obligation to answer slanders all day. Well, when's the last time you beat your wife or cheated at physics? Yeah, no, I don't have any obligation. His wrong assumptions about what I'm saying or what I'm defending, I don't have any obligations to defend myself against this slander, so that's where it goes too far. Why would you insult him as if he's a threat to you? Are you scared of ideas different from your own? Well, of course, that's the answer right there. These free willer, pie in the cloud skiers are scared to death that the human race might actually wake up and smell their stinky farts. Please explain. I'm really curious about why you're spending your time and energy on this channel. Well, especially when you just let Ken slide by and you let the religious scientist guy slide right by. All the rope theory guy, you let him just slide right by. Why don't you go harass the fuck out of those assholes? Oh, that's right, because they're talking complete shit and you like shit talkers. By the way, I've been working and paying taxes non-stop since I was 14 and 27 years at my last job. How about you? Yeah, well, like I said, I don't think, I think job is what he calls looking at his inheritance bank account. So, I mean, most people who are assholes on this planet didn't do any real work in their entire fucking life. You know, when they complain about somebody else not working, when they complain about welfare or something else, there are people who never had a real job. They always had, like, the special job mommy gave me. You know, where she'd stick her finger in my ass. And then kiss me and give me a lollipop. The reference from, okay, this is Piro. The reference frame is from classical physics. So again, this idiotic notion that, again, I'm pointing out how there's no reference frame except by physicists who think human perception is important and don't think physics is important. Understanding what's happening is important, not what's happening to the person. What's the physicist doing? How's the physicist feel? Is the physicist watching the photon? I mean, that's the Dr. Quantum thing all over the place. Are the physicists watching the photons? Because they'll do something different if we're not watching. It's their perspective. It doesn't have anything to do with us being a scientist. You know, there is relativity of velocity in the classical universe. There's no use to that perspective because we know that even Newton knew things are moving all over the place. And just sitting there saying, well, let's only talk about the stuff we're both doing that we can see happening. We won't talk about the stuff that's actually happening to us, the doers. You know, we'll just talk about the baseball going back and forth. We won't talk about the fact that we know I'm moving and I know you're moving. And so I know the baseball's also moving previously. It already had a moving condition before I threw it. No, that's the real physicist is saying, I want to know what is all the truth. I don't want to just know the little half-framey truth. And again, it doesn't. Their frames never violated physics in the sense that their frames knew that somebody outside the frame couldn't watch you violate physics. That is, they couldn't watch you make light go faster than light can go. So as soon as you make the light go forward into the future, you're violated the laws of physics. They didn't do that. Galileo had no perception that you could be allowed to do that. If you told Galileo, yes, we make the light go forward, we make it travel a longer distance, even though it has a constant speed. Galileo would say, fuck you, that's bullshit, buddy. Don't put my name on that. Don't say I endorse that framing. I wasn't for frames where you get to break the rules. It's not about being an alternate universe. That's just your primitive misunderstanding. Well, to call it a primitive misunderstanding would be to imply that some kind of future or progressive or unprimitive, sophisticated understanding includes such things. Piro, you should make another video on this stuff, my man. Oh, okay, so the Mayul CS guy endorses Piro videos, which include lots of completely demonstrably to be factually incorrect statements about reality. I mean, his presentation of evidence is entirely and fundamentally shit. The evidence he presents is shit. And so you've endorsed that. So at least we know that you endorse the people who lie, who deliberately dig up truther-style fake evidence to make arguments. So you've only demonstrated good reason why I hate this cunt. Because that's, you know, he's not making some, I'm just defending poor physics. No, you're obviously interested in cheating the argument wherever possible. Because no, you have to prove that you have to preserve your free will physics. You using the argument that, so this is the cowboy again, John Wayne, the Duke. You using the argument that Tesla was wrong because he was unsuccessful is beyond a joke. I didn't say he's wrong for that reason. I said it's evidence of the fact that Tesla didn't know what he was talking about. Because once he got out of Edison's control, you know, once he got out of the field of reason that Edison put him in, he went batshit loony and kept trying to prove things that can't be proven because they're wrong. He didn't have any successes. Everything he did in the whole second half of his life was complete useless shit. All he did was make rags about how stupid Einstein is. He didn't do anything. And why didn't he do anything? That's because every one of his ideas was wrongly premised. Fuck. Let's see. He was referring to Newton's first law of motion, obviously. This is the McCule guy. It doesn't matter what he's referring to. The simple truth is that inertia and frames should not be smashed together. Period. The fact that bodies have to be acted on by forces. Where if I disagree